Greetings, Summoners. Cosmic here, and welcome back to another Meta Monday Report, the bi-weekly video where you and every other Summoner has a chance to get their list featured on the channel, as well as a shout out to their locals, just to help grow the community and, get some other interesting brews out there. And this week, we have a lot of changes. There's a lot of Fabled Beasts getting played, a lot more white control. Purple did take a back seat, and then Nova and Rex are still there. Obviously, red is still a very real deck, but one of the things I love about the game is either it's cheap enough where you can just swap between decks once you have your ice shields, or it's just very easy otherwise to say, okay, well, I've played this deck for a couple weeks, let me go try something else, right? And there's a lot of different unique and fun play styles you can get in each one of the colors, and that's only going to get better as we get green and then obviously blue in October. Lots of changes to look forward to and just be really excited about. But again, this is going to be a weekly report and a bi-weekly video just to really showcase and hype up the local community as they're going to be, every region that reports on it. So the two things I want to clarify there up front, or just add my obligatory disclaimer: if you don't have it already, there is a new Discord for Battle Spirit Saga that is linked below in the description. Make sure to check that out if you haven't joined us already. And then the other part is, please make sure you continue to tweet at BSS Top Decks. It's right there in the image. Yes, we are collecting these through Twitter just because it's the easiest way to do it. You gotta help me out somehow, right? And an easy way to organize all this if we want to keep doing it. So please, if you can, connect with your local communities, continue to tweet out at BSS Top Decks, and I will continue to put out these reports. We had 24 last week, 20 this week, and 2 weeks before that, it was like 17. So we're having a pretty good participation so far, but I'd really, really, really love to get this up to 50 stores in total. So if you can, go to your locals, enjoy Battle Spirit Saga, and let's show off those crazy brews. And speaking of crazy brews, before we get into it, I have a very special list that I get to share. Thank you to Symphonis, who DM'd me and let me share their list from the Germany Grand Open. And this is one that we've talked about quite a bit. So I got to give a quick shout out to Team Icewall as well. Mike, I think it's Mike TCG is the name of his channel. He just put up a video explaining their Fabled Beast deck in the Facebook group. So make sure you check that out as well. And a lot of people have been coming together and working on this idea that, yes, the spirits of Luster, the early game that you can play, is, well, a little bit lacking, to say the least, and be very polite about it. But, Shin and Michaela are still very, very strong things that you can do in this game. I mean, hey, getting to play a bunch of spells for free that, unless your opponent has a very narrow number of cards for it, they can't do anything about. So there is a lot of value that if you get this online and you get to connect with the combo, you probably win the game on the spot. Not always, but there is a very, very good chance. So I have been talking about a similar list for a very long time. There's a lot of us, again, going back to Team Icewall at Palm Springs. They made top 32, if I remember correctly, with a similar list. And it is something that I think probably needs to see more play and have more development on it, because the core of it is obviously still Fabled Beast. And I think for set one, that's probably still the best that you're doing. Having that early Fabled Beast package, your spirits are just stickier, right? You can beat the Burning Force decks. You can beat the kind of try to low the ground, go wide, because you have the Exhaust Nexus as well. It just helps build up your pips on the board. And then Michaela is obviously the spirit that cares the most about that, other than, say, Alice, technically in yellow, where it's like, hey, now I'm getting to reveal 5 spells off the top, and then next turn, I have Shin who says, okay, Shin by herself, let's pay for some of these, right? Like, Exhaust Nexus in multiple is not expensive to pay for at all. You've probably figured this out already in yellow. And you could do like double Exhaust Nexus into a Burning Force, which is definitely going to be a board wipe at that point, and then it all goes back to your hand. So even if your opponent was holding back threats and has something up their sleeve for the next turn, chances are, unless they have just top decked that answer, they're losing everything again anyways, right? And then Shin obviously having the restand ability is very, very strong. So again, love this list. I think the 4-2 split for Nexus is correct. That's where, again, all my decks have been for yellow. Obviously, Burning Force and Dream Bomb and Exhaust Nexus are like the 3 best spells for yellow to like include in their decks in this current meta. And then the rest of it is just Fabled Beast, good stuff. And then also the Arcana Knight Hex, because it's a 4K for 1 core, is very relevant. So I really like this. Again, Dual Eagle has, by far and away, I'm going to keep saying it, and I'm sorry, it is 100% correct. Dual Eagle is the best promo. Like, full stop. It absolutely is the best promo, allowing all these different synergies to come online and different deck ideas. Blessed is very, very strong. And we know that Blessed will likely see more support in the next set as well, based on some of the things that should be coming. So Dual Eagle only gets better. And I guess that's a good segue into the thing I've been telling my locals since we were talking about recently. If you haven't already, please, 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 please make sure to have your full set of promos, if you play the color or not, by the end of July. Obviously, we have 2 more months, plenty of time to still get promos. But Bandai does like to, randomly give support to, year-old cards. And, well, these will be out of print eventually. So don't get stuck paying $30 for Crimson Mail because whatever reason, it's randomly good because Bandai printed X, Y, or Z card, right? Don't get caught with that, especially stuff like, obviously, go support your locals. You have plenty of time to earn them. But if you're missing a couple like Black Lances or something come July, just buy them. Just trust me. Just please buy them. Have your playset. Store them away. So, all right, that's all out of the way. Love this list. Dual Eagle, obviously insane. Cards gas. Does so much for yellow. It's exactly why we're seeing this huge revival of yellow right now. Cards great. But let's get into that and talk about the actual local list now. And again, just from a general discussion standpoint, maybe this is the first of these videos that you're watching, I tried to get at least one list from each region and also try to do one color, like overall. So obviously that's not always going to be perfectly balanced. That is going to be something that might double up in a region or double up in a color. But as we get more stores reporting out, should fix itself. So up first, and I do include everyone's Twitter tag there as well, coming out of the Australia or Oceanic region in general, is good old white control. You have your elk, you have your Derm Dynas, you have your Enterprise, you have your elephants, right? Just the good old big chunky white boys at the top end of your deck. And then we see the promos playing a special role here is Axe Spider and Black Jaguar. The thing I really wanted to call out here in this video is the inclusion of Black Jaguars, because I think this card is absolutely gas right now, and more decks need to be playing it. I promise you, other than like some crazy stuff you can do in yellow and obviously other combo things that come together, but from a solely what can one card do for you, getting to nuke a Beldegor to the bottom of their deck, it is just so good. Obviously, there's things like Freezetal. There's early aggro decks where they're trying to like set up a go wide board, just bottom decking 2 things against aggro and then still having a blocker on top. So you're taking care of 3 threats in a single turn. It's very, very strong. Obviously, I'm not going to say it's like some record-breaking, absolutely insane combo, and card combo and all that stuff, but it is very, very good at what it wants to be doing. And I've also been working on a yellow focused deck with like Exhaust Nexus into this card, because turns out putting 5k is a good breakpoint down to 2 thanks to Exhaust Nexus, and then bottom decking them is a great combo as well when you're trying to get rid of some of these stickier threats, or just putting a couple hippocampos of your opponents to the bottom, right? Very, very spicy. Love the card in general. And then some of the other cards that we're seeing in the list, just standard good old white control stuff that we'd expect to see. Your suppressions, your dream bombs, really just trying to stall out the game until you can, again, get those bigger spirits on board and get them to stick. Elephant also helping out because it is going to ramp you, and Elephant continuing to be the good guy that he is, he lets you untap at your refresh step. So, or at the end of attack step, you get a refresh step, so you can be aggressive while also holding up a bunch of cores and spirits to then block with. So in the idea of that we should be getting green and getting a bunch of the exhaust heavy stuff specifically in green, I can definitely see the elephant going up in value as well for the ramp side of it, right? So getting to refresh everything so you can attack more freely, and then also getting to do the ramp so you can play it earlier is very, very good. So I am personally waiting for the alternate art elephants to go down a little bit more maybe, but I will be buying a set before set 2 because I do think that they are going to spike in price once we see what type of support green gets. So I guess that's my little special teaser or market watch to people who are watching the video. Definitely keep in mind how much ramp green gets in the next set, because I could see alt art elephants spiking, and if you can get a good deal on them, probably want to pick them up. Moving on from there to the UK, we have the Fabled Beast list. And what I love about this one in particular is we do have the Phantom Beast King Lyn, which makes your opponent's spirits level 1. So your Dual Eagle and Hippocampo can then swing untested, right? Because they're gonna be level 1. They get through for that free damage. You get to heal up. It's going to feel great. Overall, Fabled Beast as a deck idea, it has kind of just been continuing to evolve. And as I've mentioned elsewhere, it really is one of those things where it's like, there's 30 some odd cards that you put into a core, right? You have your spells, you have your Nexus, you have your Penton because it's just such a good Penton. You have your Hippocampo and Dual Eagle. And then it's kind of like whatever at that point. Like I definitely could see some people cutting Flying Turtle, as crazy as that sounds, if you want to go more into like the magic side of things, because you have to cut back on your overall Fabled Beast package. And then you put in like more of the vanilla 3 and 4 drop because they are still 4Ks and they go back to that whole, let's just play some sticky spirits on the board, right? So huge shout out to Eventide Drift. They've actually done 2 events back to back now with Fabled Beast, getting that 4-0 win for themselves. And then again, Dream Bomb, Burning Force, Exhaust Nexus. Love these cards. I think that they're going to continue to be a staple going into the next Grand Opens, and just very versatile spirits, magic cards you want to have against certain spirits in the meta that make it to where we now have like, it's weird, right? We have a Fabled Beast, like mid-range. We have like an Alice control. We have a Luster combo, like all built into this same package. And it's kind of fun when you sit down from across your opponent because like, oh, cool, they might play like a Turtle and a Penton, but you have no idea what that top end is going to look like until they play it. So I love playing yellow. Obviously, I'm a bit biased, but again, shout out to more Fabled Beast players getting out there. We saw a huge spike of it in winning store events in this last week. So very curious to see where this goes as more and more people get their dual eagles. And then unfortunately, it isn't black and white, but there was a Nova deck that did win, and it is a full-on Nova combo. And I know it's a little bit harder to see, but it's like Nova, Sigworm, and then the cards that's right here, wherever my camera is, right? Big Bang Energy and Charged Draw. And then the rest is more or less the same. And this is a good talking point because if we see Fabled Beast, and I keep saying this, and I'm going to keep saying it, as the popularity of Fabled Beast increases, Nova deck farm the living hell out of that deck. Like it is going to feel unwinnable because of how much disruption they have, because of how much easy burn the field effects that they have. Like the Nova deck punishes us a lot. And if you look at some of these sideboards for Fabled Beast players, they have zero respect for Nova. So I'm just saying, I would not be surprised if we see some Nova decks pop up in future events. And there was a Nova deck that got a Pro Tour invite in Germany. So yeah, I just kind of slid 2 more Enterprise in my sideboard personally, and I think that some people should definitely be testing that. But, you know, if you're going to be playing in a future Grand Open, we have a couple more coming right around the corner, you might get heavily rewarded if you kind of crack the code with the Nova puzzle, as it were, because yes, you are going to have a very bad time against aggro decks, but they seem to be getting pushed out a little bit. Maybe we are going into this heavy, more mid-range format thanks to Purple mid-range and Fabled Beast, really kind of chipping away at some of the meta shares of these aggressive strategies, but I'm not quite sure. So again, it's crazy to think that we've been 4 months into this meta and to see this develop in the way that it's continued to be. And then also, I guess I do have to give a very specific shout out to Nebula Dragon Andromeda here, that it is a extra Nexus Destroyer, which is very relevant, but it can still pop a 3K Spirit and then has Confront at level 3. And as someone who's been testing this deck again recently, like surprisingly, a 11K, because you have a Nexus, right? So it goes up to 11K. Having an 11K Confront is extremely relevant in this meta, especially if you can slow them down and blow up some of their other board with, spoiler, everything else that this deck wants to be doing. So I've been quite surprised with Andromeda and being able to have just that 11K Confront. And then if you have things like the Charge Draw, you can buff it up to 13K when you need. I will say, White Control is still going to give you a very, very hard time. You'll notice that this list does not have any Netherworld Depths. Maybe it was in the sideboard, but it's not listed here. That is still something you very strongly want to consider, because otherwise a Enterprise will just stone cold stop you and is, you know, going to be a bad matchup for the deck. But that is kind of the tale as old as time, right? Like red and white clashing, White Control is always going to battle against Nova and should win that battle the majority of the time. So love to see a Nova deck. Happy to give it a shout out here. And obviously my pet card is also in here, Andromedos. I promise that's not why I showcased it. It is just the only Nova deck from the past week, so I had to give credit where credit was due. But I do really like Andromedos as well. And we know that we're getting a Star Dragon in set 2 as the new key spirit or the new boss. So hey, Andromedos stonks going up. Please, please, please be good. And then the last one, I got to give a quick shout out to Ryan. Of course, he's been on the channel. Very good purple player. If you've been following the community or following random discussions on Twitter or Facebook, the dude loves purple and he's a good player. So it's the shock to nobody that purple is the deck that he's going to and continues to do well with. And I would say if this was right before the Grand Open in Germany that just happened where purple mid-range won, a lot of people thought purple was in a very bad state. And I think we have the solidified proof that we needed that no, purple is very good. You just have to get the reps in with it. So I would not be surprised if from this moment forward, we do start to see this resurgence of purple. We do start to see more of these mid-range and control decks popping up. And again, the interesting one here is always the conversation that we go back and forth on between Mummy Mura and Earth Spider Demon. You know, do you give them the when summon trigger versus do you want to leave, you know, forego a blocker because you have to attack with Earth Spider Demon and you're ramping them sort of thing. So I really like this list. I was doing something a little bit similar. You'll notice he does have the Black Lance as well, which he was a fan of. And I think that there's still more to be done with Black Lance in general. I think it should go into the more mid-range strategies than the more full-on, you know, 4 Curse Dragon, 4 Bishop combo decks that we've been seeing. Or he's at 4-3 split here, but a lot of decks do 4-4, what have you. But Black Lance has been pretty stonks in early testing, I will say. Like I've been very happy with that card. And I think, again, the draw 2 is really undervalued, I will say, by many early on, because you summon it, you can put the cores on it, get the draw 2, and then move the cores off. And spoiler, he still has Curse, which is like what you want for purple 99 times out of 100 from these like non-big key spirit players. So it's like this card is just all upside for what the purple decks want. Like you're already having to struggle against Star Blessed draw. Like you just have to battle through that at this point. So and the other card that I really liked that he included in here was the Infinity Mothership, just for the core recovery, right? So you can cast more magics on your opponent's turn. That I'm not personally sold on it, but I definitely see a value where it's been really, really good. And we have seen other purple and white decks pop up that were a purple core and then used various white spells or went into things like Dream Bomb and suppressions to lean even heavier into it. And Mothership is the card that lets you get back your cores and do exactly that game plan. So obviously some very, very key strengths there. And again, would not be surprised if we see more purple. So with that, thank you again to everyone who reported out to BSS Top Decks. Please continue to do so we can work on this and build up the community overall. This is a project that I will continue to do until, you know, hopefully we get like 50 and then 60 and then 70 stores all reporting. I would love to get more robust data and just have this shared out every single week. Even if we don't do a video, I will tweet this out. Of course, at Cosmic Plays is my Twitter handle, and all the information will be stored there. So with that, there is a lot of text, right? We had the Germany Grand Open yesterday. We have the Monday Meta Report today. Obviously, it's holidays, so people might not be playing at locals today at the time this is going live, but there's some exciting stuff to get testing and get excited to get out there and try out at your locals. So definitely let me know in the comments below what your favorite deck list was from this week. But until then, my friends, be safe, stay hydrated, and we'll see you in the next Battle Spirit Saga video. Cheers.